All right, Vinyl Community, Jeff here again. Time to do another. I'm going to go ahead and do another one of these lottery questions. This one moving on to number 4. Just going to do one this time around. Here's a scenario. If you haven't seen the listing for this, he's talking about somebody's going to come in and make this Mount Rushmore style statue for your house. This beautiful piece, basically just a centerpiece of the home, and he basically needs you to pick the 4 vocalists that would go on this. Now, I do remember this video from the past. Most of these questions are from past videos that he has either done or experienced in the VC over his long tenure here. And so if you've done a video for these, you can just resubmit that as an answer to that. And I could have swore that I have done this one, but I looked back and do not find it. But I do remember, unless I just didn't name it anything to do with Mount Rushmore, but I do remember thinking about it, jotting some notes down. I obviously must not have ever done it, or I've renamed it something I don't recall and can't find. It'd be interesting if I could find out what I said back then, but I have a feeling it's probably going to be close to what I'm saying now. Just fairly close, at least a couple. So, yes, so vocalists that you would put on this monument, the Mount Rushmore of music monument. So, gosh, I swear I did this. Whatever, doesn't matter here nor there. I'm updating it at this point. So, there's many ways. My mind starts going into, the classic rockers that started it. Obviously, it's going to be rock and metal based for me. And there could be, you've got the Ian Gillans and the Robert Plants and all the guys who just broke ground, the Ozzies, the early rock bands, those singers that really stood out as being the forefathers of the rock and roll. I mean, you could go into the Beatles, obviously. You got even prior to that, and you got back into there. So, but obviously, my lifeline, I cut my teeth on hard rock, and I cut my teeth on late 70s, early 80s stuff. So I'm sticking with what you would expect from me being a 80s heavy person. So obviously, first place would be Ronnie James Dio. Just pretty much the high water mark when it comes to hard rock and metal vocalists. So he's going to be right there, first place. And I think right next to him is going to be Jeff Tate. Love him or hate him, depending on what era and rumors you've heard or stories you've heard. But his voice has been for decades used as the comparison of the type of singer that bands were shooting to be. He had that range, he had that smoothness to his voice that puts him up there as a vocalist that, like I say, people compare to all the time. It's always, back in the 80s, it was always like, this band sounds like Dio or this band sounds like Queensryche. I mean, everybody's comparing the vocal styles to these two guys as, a little more like that, a little more like that. Dio, Jeff Tate. And then I am going to go back for a classic one, but I'm going for a classic one that continued on doing stuff and is still doing stuff to this day. And that's David Coverdale. Of course, he was in Deep Purple. So he's done a lot of the classic stuff, but he has a long, long life in Whitesnake to the point where they're still around. In my opinion, he's got one of the most powerful and well-honed voices from his days in Deep Purple to his days in solo and in Whitesnake and everything. To me, he's the rock star status. He's very attractive and very voice-wise. So he's just got everything that, the rocker would have, the sex appeal and the vocals. He just was like the package deal. Always had lovely hair. Anyway, he was just like I say, the epitome of a rock star. And he had the chops to carry it through. And I still love their stuff. Big fan of pretty much everything he's done. And then for the 4th slot, that was kind of tough. I had a lot of people going through because it's kind of like who deserves and who, I could stick with this anyway. But I am going to, because of my last video, I talked about this particular band, but I'm going to go with Freddie Mercury. I was going to go with like Rob Halford or some other, Bruce Dickinson, some other metal guy. But when it comes to the big names in vocals, I think Freddie Mercury stands out and shines. he is just, he's got all kind of multi-talented sounds and everything, and he did so much to he was just a force to be reckoned with. And so while there are a lot of singers that, you know, have done a lot of great stuff, he's one that has really left a mark and has you know, deserves to be recognized as one of those. And you know, and he would have been in that 70s, 80s, and 90s time. So yeah, that's what I'm going with. Freddie Mercury. So we got Ronnie James Dio, Jeff Tate, David Coverdale, Freddie Mercury. That's it for now. I could change my mind any minute, so we better not talk any longer because I might change my mind. So I'm going to end it here, and I'll see you on the next one. Rock on and rock hard.